Your goals for today are to watch this video in entirety. You need to fill out your guided notes. These will be due tomorrow. And you need to complete your homework front and back. These will also be due tomorrow. If you have questions, please email me or come see me in the morning. We are first going to look at bar graphs and histograms. The first thing is just a review over bar graphs. Remember, they need titles and labels. You need to have a scale that has all the numbers. You need to have equal intervals, meaning if you're going up by 2s, you're consistently going up by 2s. And your bars should not touch. And here is an example of a single bar graph. You've got your titles and labels, your intervals are going up by 200, and your bars do not touch. You can also use a double bar graph to compare two related sets of data. So if you look down at the key, we're comparing urban and rural areas. Urban is like the city, rural would be more like your farm area. If you look, we're comparing the speed limit on the interstates in these different areas. So Florida, urban and rural go together. Those bars will touch because you're comparing something within that category. Then there is space in between Florida and Texas, and also for Vermont. To make a double bar graph, you need to first choose your scale and your equal intervals. You're going to use two different colors. Again, bars that are paired together like rural and urban, they will touch. Okay, but then Florida and Texas will not touch. Most importantly, you need a title and labels like before, but now since you have a double bar graph, you must have a key. Okay, we are going to go ahead and make a double bar graph. We are comparing two different classes, Class A and Class B, and the amount of students that own pets. So our first thing we're going to do is I'm going to write dog, we've got cat, and bird. And the label down here can be pets. Okay. We are going up to 16 and we're going up by 2s. So Class A, I'm going to do a little key over here. Class A is just going to be an empty bar. And Class B, I will shade it in. So Class A, 12 students have dogs. So I'm going to go up to 12 and down. Again, Class A is not shaded. Class B has 14. These bars will touch because we are comparing. And then shade that in. Class A for cats has 9. Again, leave space because we're moving from dog to cat. So 9. And we're not going to shade it. And Class B has 8 cats. Again, these touch because the category is the same. We're comparing cats. And then bird, Class A has 2. Not a lot of bird fans out there. And Class B has 3. Okay, we need a label. We have pets on the bottom, and this would be number of students. And our title can be pets. Okay, and again, most importantly, we have that key. Okay, now on to a histogram. A histogram is a bar graph that shows the frequency. Remember when we did frequency tables? Okay, that's what we're going to use to make our histograms. And what is different between histograms and bar graphs is that there is no space between the bars. You can also notice on the bottom here we have frequencies. We have intervals 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19. And that will be the same throughout all histograms. Steps to make a histogram. Your first step is to make a frequency table if they don't give you one. Your second step is that your frequency intervals, the 0 to 4, 5 to 10, those will go on the bottom, the x-axis. The scale goes on the y-axis, so up and down. You're going to draw a bar graph for each interval. The height of the bar is the frequency for that interval. Bars must touch, but they can't overlap. And all bars should be equal width. And then the last thing you need is title and labels. Okay, so here we are going to make a histogram. We are looking at the number of hours of TV. On the bottom, remember that's where your intervals will go. So 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and remember these intervals have to be equal, and 7 to 9. Okay, on my y-axis is going to be my frequency. I'm going to go by fives, so 0, 5, 10, 15, and 20. Okay, and then we can put our labels. These are number of hours, and this is our number of students. Okay, so 15 students watched between 1 to 3 hours of TV. So there's my first bar. 4 to 6 hours, there were 17 students. Again, our bars are going to touch. And if you have a different color, use a different color. I'm going to use a different design. And 7 to 9, 17 students as well. And we'll do. Okay, now it looks like the only thing we need here is a title. So I'm just going to write number of hours of TV. And then our histogram is done. So the only thing that's different in a histogram is that our bars are going to touch, and then we're going to use these intervals on the bottom. Okay, that is what is different. Okay, now we're going to move on completely to circle graphs. These are also sometimes called pie graphs. Okay, it is used to show data that is divided into parts. And you need to remember that a circle graph is 100% of the data. And again, on the bottom here, you can see an example of a circle graph. And we call these little slices here, these are called sectors, okay? Or you can call them a slice. We're going to look here at this table graph. This shows, or this table pie chart, this shows CD sales. Okay, you can see that rock obviously sells the most CDs, with rap being the least. So you're going to have some questions that just ask you to interpret the data. Question 1, which group of CDs sold the most? Well, if you look, the rock sector is the biggest, so rock would be our answer. 2, what percent of the CD sales are country? Well, looking here at the country sector, you can see it says 27%. Which type of CD sells the least? Well, now you're looking for the smallest sector, so that's 4%, which is rap. Okay, the last question, if a total of 500 CDs are sold, how many are jazz? Well, if we know our total is 500, remember total goes in the bottom, and jazz has 11%. Percent is always over 100. We want to know what is 11% of 500. You're going to solve this by doing cross products or your butterflies, and X is going to equal 55 CDs. Okay, so with circle graphs, you are not going to be constructing them, you are just going to be interpreting them. 50 students were asked which instrument they could play. The circle graph shows the responses. Use the graph to answer each question. Again, we're interpreting the data. It tells us 10 students said they play the piano. So here, 10 students play the piano. How many play the flute? Well, if you notice, the piano is 20%, and 20% is 10. Well, the flute is 10%, and 10% is half of 20. So half of 10 is 5. So 5 students play the flute. All right, last part is choosing which type of graph you're going to use. Do you use a circle graph or do you use a bar graph? And there's kind of some indicators for you to choose. When you're working with circle graphs, a lot of time you're going to be showing parts compared to a whole, or you're showing percents. A bar graph is good to use when you're using different categories, like different days, or different animals, or different colors. So the first question, it's asking us to decide which we would use, a bar graph or a circle graph. Number 1 says the number of tickets sold for each night of the school play. Well, that would be really easy to make a bar graph. I could do a graph and write Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I could write the number of tickets. Maybe it's 100, 200. That would easily be shown by using a bar graph. The second one is comparing between the number of students in 7th grade math, 8th grade math, and 9th grade math compared to the total student population. So this one, since we're comparing something to the total, a circle graph is going to be good, because then you would be able to say, okay, this sector is 7th grade. This sector is 8th grade. This sector is 9th grade. And this sector here is 9th and above, or 10th and above. Okay, now is your time to go ahead and complete your notes, make sure those are all completed, and to work on your homework. If you need to rewind this video or ask for help, Mr. Johnson will be able to help you.